Money, we use it every day to pay bills, buy coffee, plan vacations, or build businesses. But how often do we actually stop and ask, what is money? Okay, where did it come from? And how has it evolved? In this foundational segment, we explore the evolution of money from the early days of barter to the rise of digital currencies like Bitcoin. Understanding this journey doesn't just satisfy curiosity, it gives us insight into how money works today, why it matters, and how we can use it more wisely in a rapidly changing financial world. The barter system, trading needs for needs long before money existed. People relied on barter, the direct exchange of goods and services. You might trade a basket of apples for a dozen eggs, or offer blacksmithing services in return for a warm coat. Sounds simple, but barter had a major flaw: the double coincidence of wants. For a trade to happen, both parties had to want what the other had at the same time. That made transactions inconvenient and limited. This inefficiency led to the need for a more flexible medium of exchange, the birth of money, shells, salt, and silver. Over time, societies began to use specific items as a universal medium of exchange, things everyone agreed had value. These early forms of money included cowrie shells in Africa and Asia, salt blocks in ancient Rome, gold and silver coins, which were durable, portable, and widely accepted. These items served as early money because they were scarce, hard to counterfeit, and carried intrinsic or perceived value. The rise of paper money, trust and representation. As trade expanded and carrying metal coins became impractical, governments and banks began issuing paper money, representative currency that stood in for gold or silver stored elsewhere. This system relied on trust. People accepted paper notes because they trusted the institution behind them. It was no longer the physical substance that held value, it was the belief that the note could be exchanged for something real. Eventually, we moved away from the gold standard altogether, entering a system where money is no longer backed by physical assets. Today's money is known as fiat currency, has value because governments say it does, and people trust that value. Plastic and pixels, credit, debit, and digital dollars. With the invention of credit cards in the 1950s and the digitization of banking in the late 20th century, money became even more abstract. Most of our transactions now happen electronically. We swipe, tap, or click, and numbers move across digital ledgers. We no longer carry bags of gold or even much cash. Instead, we manage money through apps, online banks, and virtual wallets. The Bitcoin breakthrough, decentralized digital currency. In 2009, a mysterious figure known as Satoshi Nakamoto introduced Bitcoin, the first decentralized digital currency built on a technology called blockchain. Here's what makes Bitcoin revolutionary. It's not issued by a central authority. It has a fixed supply. Transactions are recorded on a public ledger that is transparent and secure. It offers the promise of a financial system that's borderless, decentralized, and resistant to inflation. Since then, thousands of cryptocurrencies have emerged, each with different use cases and communities. Whether or not Bitcoin becomes the future of money, its arrival has forced the world to rethink what money can be and who gets to control it. Why this evolution matters. Understanding how money has evolved is more than just a history lesson. It reveals something deeper. Money is a human invention. It changes as our societies, technologies, and values evolve. It's not some fixed, eternal truth. It's a tool. Tools can be reimagined. This perspective helps us see that value is based on trust and shared belief. Recognize how rapidly money is changing in the digital age. Make more informed decisions about how we spend, save, and invest. Whether you're managing a budget or exploring crypto, it helps to know that money is solid, as it may seem, is always in motion. Final thoughts from seashells to satoshis. The story of money is a story of human creativity. We've always found ways to trade, store value, and build systems of trust. Today, as technology redefines money yet again, we're all part of the next chapter. So next time you hold a dollar, scan a QR code, or see the price of Bitcoin flash across the screen, remember, you're not just watching numbers. You're witnessing a living system, one that's been evolving for thousands of years, and one that you now have the power to shape. Most of us think of money as a practical tool, something we earn, spend, save, or worry about. But in segment 2 of Your Money or Your Life, Vicky, Robin, and Joe Dominguez invite us to dig deeper. They ask us to step back and look at the emotional, cultural, and psychological messages we've absorbed about money throughout our lives. Because the truth is, money isn't just about math, it's about meaning. And much of the meaning we've attached to money comes from myths, powerful, often unspoken beliefs that shape how we relate to money every single day. Money as a mirror, the authors argue that our relationship with money is often a reflection of our values, fears, hopes, and history. It mirrors how we feel about ourselves, our place in the world, and what we think we deserve. But this mirror isn't always accurate because many of us are working off of faulty cultural programming. That's what segment 2 is all about. Identifying and challenging the myths and messages we've picked up along the way. The core myths about money here are just a few of the pervasive myths Abin and Dominguez call out. Money will make me happy. This is probably the most common and seductive myth. Advertisers feed it to us constantly. And yes, money can solve real problems, but beyond a certain point, more money doesn't equal more happiness. And chasing that illusion can actually lead to stress, burnout, and disconnection. If I had more money, everything would be better. This myth keeps us on the treadmill of more. But the authors challenge us to pause and ask, is more really solving my problems, or is it just creating new ones? Often, the issue isn't how much we earn, but how consciously we use what we already have. My self-worth equals my net worth. This is a myth baked deep into Western culture. We admire wealthy people, envy their lifestyles, and often assume they're somehow better. But this belief is toxic. It ties our identity to our income and keeps us chasing status instead of purpose. Spending is the same as freedom. In reality, spending often creates dependence, our jobs, our debt, and our possessions. True freedom, the authors suggest, comes not from spending more, but from needing less. Where these messages come from, these myths didn't appear out of nowhere. Segment 2 invites us to reflect on the sources of our money messages. Family. What did your parents teach you about money? Was it a source of stress, power, secrecy, or security? School. Were you ever taught financial literacy? Or did you learn that talking about money was taboo? Media. Think of the shows, ads, and influencers you follow. What kinds of lives are portrayed as successful? It's culture and society. We're constantly being told what we should want, what success looks like, and how much we need to feel enough. The key message here is awareness. When you recognize where your beliefs came from, you can start to decide which ones you want to keep and which ones it's time to rewrite. How these myths shape our lives left unchecked. These money myths shape more than just our finances. They shape our entire lifestyle. They can lead us to stay in unfulfilling jobs just for the paycheck, buy things we don't need to feel temporarily worthy or successful, avoid thinking about money altogether because it feels overwhelming or shameful, compare ourselves constantly to others, and always come up short. That's why Robin and Dominguez emphasize this step as foundational. Before you can build a new relationship with money, you need to confront the one you already have. A new way to see money. Segment 2 doesn't leave us hanging in myth-busting mode. It also hints at a better path, one rooted in clarity, honesty, and alignment. You get to ask, what does money mean to me? What are the messages I want to live by? What role do I want money to play in my version of a meaningful life? This sets the stage for the rest of the book, where you'll start tracking your income and spending with a new lens, not just to balance your budget, but to align your money with your values. Final thought, we all carry stories about money. Some were handed down to us. Some we absorbed without realizing it, but just because we've believed something for a long time doesn't mean it's true or helpful. Segment 2 is a gentle but powerful invitation to step back, take stock, and start rewriting your money story with intention. Because the money you earn, spend, save isn't just about dollars and cents. It's about who you are and the life you want to live. If you've ever wondered, where does all my money go? Tia, you're not alone. But the better question might be, what does my spending say about me? In segment 3 of Your Money or Your Life, authors Vicky, Robin, and Joe Dominguez invite us to explore a bold and sometimes uncomfortable idea. Money is a mirror. That is, how we earn, spend, save, and even avoid money reflects who we are, our values, fears, priorities, and blind spots. This segment doesn't teach budgeting tricks or financial hacks. Instead, it encourages radical self-awareness. Because before you can change your financial life, you need to understand your financial self. To quote, the mirror never lies. We tend to think of money as something separate from our identity and external tool we use to get things done. But Robin and Dominguez challenge that. They argue that money is deeply personal. In fact, it's a direct reflection of what we believe, what we value, and what we're trying to avoid or prove. For example, do you overspend when you're stressed? Your spending may be reflecting emotional needs. Do you save excessively but rarely enjoy your money? That might mirror beliefs about scarcity or control. Do you splurge on others but not yourself? That could reveal self-worth dynamics. Your money behavior, whether intentional or not, is telling a story, and that story is worth listening to. From shame to insight. Here's where the magic of this segment lies. It's not about judging yourself. It's about observing yourself. We often carry shame or anxiety about money, but your money or your life reframes that conversation. It asks you to approach your finances with curiosity, not criticism. Your money habits aren't good or bad. They're information. Instead of "I'm terrible with money," try, what might my spending patterns be trying to tell me? What values are hiding in my purchases? What fears or assumptions drive my decisions? By stepping back and reflecting, you shift from reacting to responding. You begin to see your financial choices not as isolated transactions, but as meaningful expressions of your inner life. The Monthly Money Review. To hold up the mirror clearly, the book introduces a simple but powerful exercise, the Monthly Money Review. Each month, you track every dollar that comes in and goes out. But instead of just categorizing by groceries, rent, or entertainment, you go deeper. You ask questions like, did I receive fulfillment, satisfaction, and value from this expenditure in proportion to the life energy spent? Is this expense in alignment with my values and life purpose? Would I make this purchase again, knowing what I know now? This process turns your financial review into a self-awareness practice. Over time, patterns emerge. You might realize you're spending more on convenience than connection. You may see that you're investing heavily in your image, but underinvesting in your health. You might notice you're spending out of habit, intention. Your money equals your life energy. This segment also connects back to the concept of life energy introduced earlier. Since money is the result of your life energy, your time, focus, and effort, how you spend it becomes a direct statement of how you're using your life. When you waste money, you're not just wasting dollars, you're wasting pieces of your life. But when you use money in a way that aligns with your values and brings real fulfillment, you're turning life energy into something meaningful, aligning with integrity. Ultimately, the goal of this segment is to help you live in greater integrity, where your money habits reflect your values and your choices reflect your purpose. When your spending aligns with what truly matters to you, money becomes a tool for empowerment instead of stress. It becomes a mirror you're proud to look into. Final thoughts. Segment 3 of Your Money or your life may be one of the most important in the entire book. Not because it gives you financial tactics, but because it helps you become financially self-aware. When you treat money as a mirror, you stop hiding from your habits and start learning from them. You stop chasing money to fill a void and start using it to build a life that feels rich in your own terms. Because at the end of the day, your money story is your life story. And you have the power to rewrite it, starting now. When you think about money, what comes to mind first? Bills, security, stress, freedom. In segment 4 of Your Money or Your Life authors, Vicki Robin and Joe Dominguez ask us to hit the brakes and take a deeper look at what money really is, and more importantly, what role we want it to play in our lives moving forward. This isn't just about budgeting or investing. This is about your entire mindset around money, how you define it, how you interact with it, and how much power you let it have. Because here's the truth, most of us don't just use money. We worship, fear, obsess over, and sometimes even avoid it. It shapes our relationships, our sense of success, and even our self-worth. But does it have to? It's a cultural script around money. We live in a world where money isn't just a tool, it's a measuring stick. From an early age, we retaught that how much money we make is directly linked to how successful or important we are. Entire industries thrive on this belief, nudging us to prove our worth through our clothes, our homes, our cars, our vacations. Robin and Dominguez argue that this mindset is deeply flawed and spiritually draining. The way we've been taught to think about money turns it into something that owns us, rather than something we can thoughtfully direct. So, in this segment, they ask us to do something radical, redefine money itself. So, what is money? According to the book, money isn't just paper, digits in a bank, or even purchasing power. At its core, money is something we trade our life energy for. When you work a job, you're trading time, effort, and energy, your finite, irreplaceable life in exchange for money. That means every dollar you earn has a hidden cost, a portion of your life. This idea is powerful because it reframes every transaction, every purchase, every savings goal. You're not just spending money, you're spending a piece of your time on earth. Why? Redefining money matters when we only see money as a way to get more stuff or secure status. We lose sight of its potential to serve our deepest values and dreams. Segment 4 invites us to ask, what do I really want my money to do for me? Am I using money to create joy, purpose, and connection, or just to keep up? Is my relationship with money rooted in fear and scarcity, or clarity and empowerment? This new understanding helps shift your focus from accumulation to alignment. Instead of working and spending on autopilot, you begin to make financial decisions that reflect what really matters to you. Money is life energy. Here's where the practical meets the philosophical. The authors introduce the idea that every expense should be evaluated not just in dollars, but in life energy. Once you've calculated your real hourly wage, you could ask, is this purchase worth X hours of my life? It's a powerful pause button. Suddenly, that $200 impulse buy becomes a 10-hour trade-off. Is it worth it? Sometimes yes, sometimes no, but now you're making the choice consciously. This mindset creates space to experience enough. Great. Breaks the cycle of needing more and more, and helps you cultivate appreciation for what you already have. Creating a new money purpose, the authors encourage you to write a personal statement about what money means to you now. And this isn't about rules, it's about clarity. For example, money is a tool I use to create freedom and generosity. I use money to support a life rooted in simplicity and service. Money is not my master, it's my resource for building a meaningful life. By redefining money this way, you step into the driver's seat. You stop letting cultural expectations dictate how you earn, spend, and save. And you start aligning your finances with your values, not just your obligations. The road ahead. Segment 4 is a turning point in your money or your life. It's as the moment when money stops being the center of everything and becomes something far more grounded, a faithful servant to a life well lived. You don't have to become a minimalist or quit your job tomorrow, okay? But you do get to decide what role money plays in your life from here on out. And when you see it for what it truly is, not a scoreboard, but a tool, you open the door to financial peace, personal power, and a life driven by purpose rather than pressure.